sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. My name's Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comic, but my sister's a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan, licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to funny woman, Virginia Jones.
That's right. I'm extremely minorly famous in a small group of people, so everybody suck on that.
Watch out.
This week, it's Laura Ryan's topic. Laura, what are you talking about this week?
We're talking about dreams.
Ooh.
The topic is dream on. Why is it such a thing? That's why we're talking about it.
My first thought is, let's say you're in a long-term partnership or you're talking to your kid. You're kind of doing the same stuff every day, but then you have a dream that you're working in an ice cream factory and God is your dad. That's interesting.
That is interesting. Actually, as I was doing research, I remembered a dream that I had when I was still married, and it was about you.
Thanks.
In the dream, you were marrying my husband.
I promise you I would never, for several reasons.
But the two of you were acting like it was no big thing. And what's my problem? And I was mad at both of you for like a week. It was such a betrayal. And the two of you were gaslighting the F out of me. You were just like, this was always the plan. And I'm like, no, it wasn't. I'm married to him.
Well, I will formally apologize for marrying your husband. That was uncool of me.
That was super uncool. Dream analysis. Do you know who first started the dream analysis?
I have a guess. I'm going to say Mr. Sigmund Freud.
Yeah. AKA my least favorite psychoanalyst.
Look, there's a lot of things he got wrong, but there's a lot of stuff we still use. Like you got to throw out the bad and keep the good.
We still use it, but should we? That's the question that I bring to the table. Is there any relevance? Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung put forth some of the most widely known modern theories of dreaming. Freud's theory centered around the notion of repressed longing, the idea that dreams allowed us to sort through unresolved, repressed wishes. Carl Jung, who studied under Freud, also believed that dreams had psychological importance, but proposed different theories about their meaning. Have you ever heard of activation synthesis hypothesis?
You know what? You're going to be surprised, but I have not.
So, according to activation synthesis hypothesis, dreams don't actually mean anything. They're merely electrical brain impulses that pull random thoughts and imagery from our memories. There's also threat simulation theory that suggests that dreaming could be seen as an ancient biological defense mechanism that provided an evolutionary advantage because of its capacity to repeatedly simulate potential threatening events. I think that's a cool one.
Well, you and I were talking recently about how in dreams, your brain is remembering real feelings that you've had and trying to duplicate those feelings through other means. It's just trying to mirror those emotions. So while in the day, you might have had a near-miss car accident and you were very activated and your heart was beating, in the dream, you might be chased by a bear, but your brain is just trying to mirror.
But I can see how if I'm ancient man or I'm a cat, cats dream, dogs dream. If I'm a cow, maybe I had a near miss. And in my dream, I can work out potential other possibilities. Because sometimes that happens to me with work. I'll have a problem, a business problem, and I'll go to sleep and I'll come up with a solution while I sleep.
I do think that dreams are an important part of processing that kind of information. I've had the same thing, usually with spatial stuff, with pattern stuff. I will go to sleep not knowing how to solve something, and I will wake up with a solution just because I've allowed it to percolate through my brain meat.
The story that I make up about what dreams are for is taking all the information that's happened to me during the day, dumping it somewhere, and helping me to build new neural pathways to get to somewhere new.
Freud felt like dreams were working out your childhood psychosexual trauma. But Jung believed in a very complicated iconography and symbolism. And I think that he was the first person to do dream interpretation in that way, is this means this.
Right. Here are 55. I'm not going to read them all, but I'm going to read you my favorites. 55 themes that people have in dreams.
Okay.
School, teachers and studying, being chased or pursued, arriving too late, a living person being dead. I've had that one a lot. Traveling to another planet. I've never had that one, but I'd like to. Someone having an abortion. I've had that one. I've never had this one, but I want to. Being an object. Flying or soaring through the air. Failing an examination. I have that one a lot. Have you ever had this one, being on the verge of falling, where you don't quite fall, but you're right on the edge of it?
Or falling.
Oh, okay. So you actually fall. Swimming. I have a lot of swimming dreams.
Mhm.
Losing teeth. Being unable to find a toilet. I have that one a lot,
Right.
where I really have to pee, but no matter where I go, I cannot pee. Being tied up, restrained, or unable to move.
Sexy.
Being killed. I've never had one where I was killed. Killing another person. Have you ever done that in a dream? I have. It's quite satisfying. Wild, violent beasts. Having magical powers. I've had that one a lot.
Yeah.
Finding money. I wish I had that one.
I have a lot of dreams about not necessarily money, but an object, something that I've been pursuing. And it's a very sad feeling when you wake up and you're like, oh.
Yeah. Being nude.
Sure.
Being nude while eating delicious food.
That's just my Saturday night.
Exactly. I think that's a lot of those.
The being late, the test dreams, failing a test. That's just the anxiety of life. These are the things that we're worried about.
Well, I remember our brother used to dream that he was folding pizza boxes way after he had worked at a pizza place. And I still do that. I'm waiting tables in my dreams most nights. I think I've spent more time waiting tables in dreams than I ever did in real life.
I have left my table waiting time behind, but when I was waiting tables, I would always have, oh my God, table 5, I totally forgot about them. And it's been forever.
That is my dream, literally nightly, that I forgot about table 5.
Yeah.
My tables are looking around, as my former employer used to say.
I'm so sorry, table 5. You've been abandoned for many years. I never actually went back to that restaurant.
I never came back. That was
What
it.
if you're just waiting for their chicken stir fry?
Dreams have intrigued the human race for thousands of years. This is the history of dream analysis and therapy. In ancient times, the Babylonians and Egyptians believed that dreams were prophetic and held heavenly meaning. Aristotle interpreted dreams as psychological phenomena and viewed them as the life of one's soul while asleep. In the middle of the 19th century, the first scientifically based dream research took place, but it was not until Freud published the interpretation of dreams in 1900 that dream analysis was widely developed.
I would like to break in with a Laurie Anderson lyric. In her song, Talk Normal, I dreamed I had to take a test in a Dairy Queen on another planet. How many of those dreams?
Did she take that list and just go through it and write a song? This is my favorite quote about Freud by Javier Yanes. Freud's work, The Interpretation of Dreams, is one that has contributed the most to the false belief that dreams are somehow related to real life. Mic drop.
I'll say this. I don't think that people have any ability to see into the future in their dreams. Dreams don't know anything your brain doesn't know. It's just like when you have a voice in your head, that voice doesn't know anything you don't know because it's you.
Well, you say that, but the theme song for this podcast came from a dream that I had, and I didn't know that song before.
But you knew all the words. You knew the ideas. I will give you, you were assimilating. You were putting things together. If I dream that I'm going to marry Boy George,
as you do,
as I always
or
have.
my ex-husband.
I was talking to Jackie Cation last night, name drop.
Future podcast guest.
Yes, because my friend Jason Van Glass had brought up Boy George. And I said, he was truly my first musician crush. And I was so in love with him. And I told my dad I was going to marry him. And Jackie said, well, that's not going to happen. I don't know that, Jackie.
Well, the word is not out on that one yet.
We're both still alive.
It's true. As long as we both have beating hearts, we can make this happen. Mm-hmm. We can make it, baby. Me and you.
Me and you. But I don't think dreams are meaningless. I don't think that they're as meaningful as some people think that they are. I don't think that they mean anything about what you should be doing, what you shouldn't be doing. I do think that you're processing through thoughts and feelings you've had during the day.
Well, let's find out what good therapy thinks about dream analysis.
Okay.
In psychoanalytic theory, dreams represent wish fulfillment, unconscious desires, and conflicts. Dreams contain both manifest and latent content. Manifest content includes information from the dream as the dreamer remembers it. Latent content represents the repressed symbolic meaning embedded within a dream. During dream analysis, the person in therapy shares the manifest content of the dream with the therapist. After specific symbols are pulled from the manifest content, the therapist utilizes free association to facilitate the exploration of repressed material.
Can you say that in a way that a truck driver could understand?
Have you ever done free association?
Yeah, I've free associated for sure. It's a big part of my joke writing process.
So how does free association work?
You try to clear your mind and someone says something to you and you say the very first thing that comes into your head. And you try not to judge any of the things you're thinking or try to sort through them for the right one because there's no right one.
Right. David Bowie did a lot of that. To put this in layman's terms, you have your day-to-day stuff that's in your mind, and then you have this repressed stuff. And so the repressed stuff is going to show up like a slug in a dream or an anchor in a dream. And that's where you have to pick apart, what does this mean? And this is, for me, the most irritating thing when a client comes in and says, hey, let's spend 20 to 25 minutes unpacking a dream I had. And then we've lost most of the hour. And I don't see the value in doing that. Something that my therapist would do is she would say, what's the feeling that the dream gives you? I have a lot of dreams in an old abandoned mall that's multiple levels. And a lot of the dreams are that my office is in this mall and I can't find it. And I have a client who's coming in.
And that's just that same being late, taking a test, anxiety, time pressure.
It attaches itself to my professionalism. Am I reliable? Am I grown up? All of that messaging.
Yes, agree. But the details aside, these are the things that we're all dreaming about all the time. I'm going to fail. I'm going to mess up. I'm going to be discovered. I'm going to be found out.
I'm going to marry Jack Black. If I had one person who has visited my dreams, it is that man. He's always there. We're not even necessarily doing anything. We just have conversations all the time. And I wake up and I'm like, oh, that was fun. I think he's astral projecting to me. That's what I've decided.
Probably. If I can share something that I think is kind of interesting. After our dad passed over 10 years ago, we were both experiencing this thing where you see the dead person a lot. I would see him in crowds. I saw him once at a Costco. I took a photo to tell everybody that he's not dead. He's just at the Costco looking for deals. But as time goes on, you see them less and less. And Laura used to have these dream conversations with our dad, but they're happening less and less. And the last time she talked to him, he said, the further I am from Earth, the less concerned I am with earthly stuff. I'm just not relating to it very much anymore.
And the things that he's learning, I can't connect to or understand because I have this tiny pea brain. I mean, he's still there, kind of like Jack Black. He'll just be like in the background and I'll go, oh, hey, Dad, what's cracking?
What's crack-a-lackin'?
So what do you know about Jungian analysis?
I know that Jung had a lot of ideas about the specific symbols of dreams and archetypes. It's stuff that carries through in storytelling and the anima and the animus, and a serpent means certain things. Like if you dream about a snake, it means a certain thing.
I think that's where the teeth falling out anxiety thing comes from. I think that's Jungian. Jungian analysis is similar to Freud's psychoanalysis in that dreams are probed for unconscious material and symbols are explored for hidden meaning. However, in Jungian dream analysis, the dreamer is more crucial in unlocking the dream's message. Additionally, dreams are seen as attempts to express and create rather than efforts to repress and disguise, as in Freud's theory. So Jungian dream analysis is based on his belief that unless the interpretation resonates with the dreamer, the interpretation is not helpful. There's no cookie cutter thing. We all have our own experience and something has to mean something to us. I had a client come in last week and her dream didn't mean anything to me because it wasn't mine, but the specific symbols had meaning and she was dealing with some internal conflict. It was able to resolve itself after having this dream.
So coming back to something you mentioned a few minutes ago, that when a client brings in a dream and says, let's go through it bit by bit and let's really solve it. And you feel like you could just give me the overall feeling the dream has, and that that's not valuable, but it's valuable to the client.
Well, I'm not saying it's not valuable. I think looking at the feeling that this thing is giving you and seeing how it relates to what's currently going on, it's like a little puzzle to solve. I just don't want to spend 30 minutes. Was it a shell on the beach that you picked up or a snail? Those things I think are immaterial and don't matter.
What do you think about lucid dreaming? That was a big thing in the 70s and 80s that you should try to lucid dream. And it meant something about your brain capacity or something.
I do it. So I think it's pretty cool. I do it when I have a nightmare. The way that I learned how to lucid dream is you look at your hands. So I look at my hands and then I try to get myself out of the situation because it's been a while, but I used to have just horrific nightmares specifically about harm coming to my child and things like that. So I wanted to get out of those as quickly as possible.
One thing that I've done when I am lucid dreaming, try to read something. It will not be language or it won't be the same thing twice. You can't read something in your dream.
It's basically like if AI was trying to write something.
It's just gobbledygook. So if you're worried that you're dreaming and you don't know it, see if you can read something. Did you know that people with narcolepsy are more likely to have lucid dreams?
Well, yeah, because they fall asleep all the time.
Yeah. When people started playing Nintendo Wii games where you're not just sitting and holding a controller, you're like moving your body, those people started lucid dreaming more.
Oh, that's crazy.
I think one of the reasons people were trying to do lucid dreams is that there was the idea that you might be more creative, you might have more control over your mind, but I think it's kind of a wag the dog situation. There was a minute in the 70s where everybody thought if you were ambidextrous, if you could write with both hands, that meant your brain was more balanced, that your brain was very powerful on both sides. So like I tried to teach myself to write with my right hand, but I think it goes the other way. I think if you're naturally ambidextrous, that means your brain is that way. You can't force your brain into being that way.
Right. You can't become ambidextrous. You either are or you are not.
Yeah.
Dream work in Gestalt therapy is implemented a little bit differently than psychoanalysis and Jungian because Gestalt therapists believe the dreams are existential messages that we send to ourselves. So these messages are actively explored to bring dream content into a person's actual life.
So in Gestalt therapy, dreams are very important and you need to interpret them in order to improve your life.
Right. They're existential messages. P.S. Most of these different types of analysis are dead. People don't do Gestalt therapy. I mean, I'm sure somebody does. Actually, that was an interesting moment. I was talking absolute smack about Freud at a training, and I found the first and only Freudian analyst that I'd ever met, and she was very offended at my hot take.
Is there still a demand for Freudian analysis? I guess
I don't know. I was talking about how I needed a credit of some kind, and the only class available, it was an art history class, but it was through the lens of Freud. And I remember sitting in the class and we were looking at a painting, and the painting was maybe a toddler, a young child with his arm around a sweet little lamb. And my teacher starts, deconstructing it and talking about how, of course, this child wants to have sex with the lamb. Is there, what? This is complete dog water. I don't believe you. This is stupid. I hate Freud.
I mean, who among us hasn't thought about having sex with a lamb?
Have you heard of existential art therapy?
Have I heard of existential art therapy? I don't think I have. Wait. You know what? I do have a subscription to Existential Art Therapy magazine.
I get on existentialarttherapy.com almost every day. So in this approach, dreams are explored through an existential lens. The therapist acts as a witness as the person in therapy attempts a journey of self-discovery. Dream images are explored, interacted with, and analyzed through art. The existential art therapist encourages those in therapy through their attempts to find meaning from the imagery, providing support, but avoiding making interpretations for the individual. So this is kind of different from Jungian and Freudian analysis because you are coming up with it yourself.
So in philosophy, existentialism is dealing with the problems of existing, dealing with the human existence, trying to come to terms with the difficulties of being a people. I mean, the French existentialists talk about being a bummer. They basically started with the idea that life is just trying to see how long you can go without killing yourself. Every day you don't kill yourself is an achievement.
So I think existential art therapy is grounded in being a person and experiencing human experiences and using art to analyze.
So when you do existential art therapy, what does that look like? What is the art? Is it just paintings? Is it...
So you're asking me what is art therapy? Because that's just one kind of art therapy. There's a lot of different kinds of art
Is
therapy.
it where you're making the art and talking about how you relate to it? Are you looking at other people's art? I really don't understand what it means.
So let me tell you, according to Helpful Professor, the definition of existentialism, existentialists hold that humans have no pre-given purpose or essence laid out for them by God or by nature. It is up to each one of us to decide who and what we are through our own actions, according to Guillaume.
Yeah. Existentialism starts with the death of God.
Correct.
God is dead is the bumper sticker quote.
I was going to say the theme.
The theme. But then with that loss, we have to make up our own meaning.
Right. So I think existentialist art therapy is starting from that jumping off point. We're living in this experience. We're figuring it out. So art therapy, although I am not an art therapist, nor am I an existential art therapist, I had to take some classes in art therapy in college. as part of my degree. Basically, what it is using art and drawing to unpack your feelings, because a lot of times it's very hard to verbalize what's going on with you emotionally. For example, I remember I was given the class assignment to draw a relationship. So what I ended up doing is I drew a picture of a mountaintop, and I was kind of midway up the mountain, and I had my husband, he was chained to my leg.
Okay.
And I was dragging him behind me, and attached to him was his depression, his mental illness, his drinking problem, his money issues. It helped me to unpack and understand all of the pressures that I was feeling in that moment.
And so that he was the albatross around the neck of the ancient mariner.
Correct. And I was having to drag him up a mountain. That was the trickiest part. If we're just standing on solid ground, it would have been one thing, but I felt like I was having to carry him along with me. Not on a backpack. That would have been easy. Attached to my leg.
Grabbing onto your ankle.
So here's another example of art therapy. The assignment was to draw a rose garden. And so I always volunteered for some reason to have my work analyzed, which really backfired on me a lot of times. The teacher said, I see here that there's really not much in your garden. Like, it's a very small garden. And I said, well, you have to look at the hills over there. That's where the garden is. It's way out in the background. And she said, oh, okay. So you are very anxious and focused entirely on the future. You're never in the present.
You're never stopping to smell the roses. What?
Whoa. Mic drop. We've had a couple mic drops in this episode. Yeah, that was her analysis for me, and accurate. So let's talk about dream analysis in contemporary therapy, because we were talking about, like I said, of dead therapeutic intervention.
Dead white guys, people talking about cigars a lot.
Dead theoretical orientations. Nobody except that one lady. Nobody's really doing that.
That's so weird. Once the whole society has moved away from a school of thought, it's like I'm walking through the town square going, I use an abacus. That's what I prefer.
That's what I'm into. So I don't care I don't know what all this other stuff is. Abacuses are the way. I don't know what this phone calculator thing is. I didn't spend a lot of time talking to her because she was very, very irritated with me. So I thought, I don't really need to explore this relationship further. We were in a group and I happened to be openly mocking Freud.
Right.
And she piped up with it very angrily that was her theoretical orientation and it was valid and I was wrong. And I just said, well, agree to disagree. Moving on. Although dream analysis has waned in contemporary use, it remains an integral part of some theoretical frameworks. According to a study from the Journal of Psychotherapy Practice and Research, dream analysis appears to be most popular among psychoanalysts trained in psychodynamic theory. The study also found that dream analysis is also used in the following models, although it's not as common: person-centered therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, we've talked about that, and Gestalt therapy. Additionally, psychotherapists who participated in the study estimated approximately 70% of the individuals they treated obtained some benefit from dream analysis.
Even if the benefit is just recognizing your motivations or your concerns, I think that that's beneficial. I think that that's helpful. I don't think it's important to know the swan is your mother. Some of the trivialities of the dream, people are always hiding from their true intentions and their true desires. And if dreams can help us understand that, I think that that's helpful.
Yeah. What I really like is when someone comes in with a dream and unpacks it for me, and I just get to give them an attaboy. Which is what happened recently with that client. So Christina Marzano and her colleagues at the University of Rome, a research team, used technology to measure a participant's brain waves during various sleep stages. I'll just briefly run through them. We have 4 types of electrical brain waves: delta, theta, alpha, and beta. Each represents a different speed of oscillating electrical voltages, and together they form the EEG memories. Christina Marzano did this study and found out that dreams seem to help us process emotions by encoding and constructing memories of those feelings. What we see and experience in our dreams might not necessarily be real, but the emotions attached to these experiences certainly are. Our dream stories essentially try to strip the emotion out of a certain experience by creating a memory of it. This way, the emotion itself is no longer active. The mechanism fulfills an important role because when we don't process our emotions, especially negative ones, this increases personal worry and anxiety. In fact, severe REM self-deprivation and that doesn't mean not listening to the band REM, is increasingly correlated to the development of mental disorders. In short, dreams help us to regulate traffic on that fragile bridge that connects our experiences with our emotions and our memories.
I had a conversation with a friend last week where I mentioned seeing REM on the Green Tour, and that was the first time I saw Robyn Hitchcock. And she said, I saw them on that tour. And I said, oh, but I saw them in Dallas, Texas. And she said, I saw them in Houston, Texas.
I was in seat 5G. Well, I was in seat 5F.
And that's how we know we're best friends.
I have one more thing. I decided to look up some stuff about sleepwalking because I have a couple sleepwalkers as my clients right now, and I find it very interesting. So sleepwalking is called somnambulism. So if you're trying to avoid somnambulism, I remember I had a client in the past who would take a boat out in the water.
Asleep?
Asleep. Yeah. And he would wake up in the boat.
The comedian Mike Birbiglia has done a whole show about sleepwalking, Sleepwalk with Me. It's very dangerous. He jumped out of a hotel window while he was asleep.
I think he thought he was an FBI agent or something. He was being chased. But he said, luckily, it was a Motel 6 or something, and it was not very far.
Not very far. Right. Exactly. If he'd been in a Hilton on the 20th floor, he'd be a dead person.
If he'd had some money, it would not have worked out for him.
So how can he and others keep from sleepwalking? What helps?
He has a sleep disorder, so he is using medication. And I think that that's probably the best route. But sometimes even people who aren't sleepwalkers will do it. A lot of children sleepwalk. I remember having the experience of being at Rachel Seller's house and waking up in her bedroom, stark raving naked. And I couldn't figure out what happened. I decided in my weird...
Hey, wait, were you drunk?
I was actually. I think I was 5 or 6. But I remember the experience because her brothers had been suggesting to me that they were going to get me naked or something, which is weird when you think about it. I mean, they were young too. And so I thought, oh, her brothers did it. And I was telling her mom about it at the breakfast table. And she said, oh, no, Laura, I saw you. I saw you get up in the night, cross the hallway, go to the bathroom, take off it was my genie pajamas, right?
Oh.
Virginia and I had matching genie pajamas, which I hope that someday we can recreate.
They look like the I Dream of Jeannie outfit to us.
It was legit. I mean, they were legit.
Yeah.
And so I took my pajamas off and put them in the bathtub and went back to bed because apparently I'd had a potty accident.
It's stressful being at other people's houses.
It is, especially when you're 5 or something. So drinking alcohol in the evening can create instability in a person's sleep stages and may heighten the risk of sleepwalking. Sleep deprivation is correlated with an elevated risk of sleepwalking, which may be due to more time spent in deep sleep after a period of sleep deprivation. Some medications with a sedative effect may push people into a type of sleep that increases their chances of having a sleepwalking episode.
Isn't Ambien bad with sleepwalking?
100%. I remember I had a client who would do these late night binges in her fridge on Ambien pretty much every night. I suggested putting a lock on her fridge. I don't know if she ever did that. So anticipatory awakening is waking someone up shortly before a potential sleepwalking episode. So something I've learned from my sleepwalkers is that they do it around the same time every night. So one way that you can maybe help to stop it, because sleepwalking is connected to a specific sleep stage, it often happens around the same time. So waking someone up just before that time can prevent them from having that partial awakening that can provoke sleepwalking. I remember one client in particular, it was always 3:00 in the morning. Just set your clock for 3 a.m. and wake them up. Anticipated awakening has been effective in helping many children to stop sleepwalking. It might be useful for others. Circling back to Javier Llanes, he wrote an article called Dream Interpretation, Science or Pseudo-science.
Hot take.
He's throwing daggers in the psychological communities. Go, Javier. From the sleep and dream research that I have been involved in several years ago, I came to the conclusion that dream imagery does not have universal meaning, but is rather conditioned by all those processes that condition our daytime experience: social group identification, culture, personal history, and so on. That was a quote from Alfred Kosniak, a neuropsychologist at the University of Arizona. A view shared by many experts today that dreams are personal, that there are no universal recipes that can give us an automatic translation of their meaning, and that they have only as much significance as we want to give them, which can be none at all if we prefer. Unfortunately, there is not present scientific consensus on the function or purpose of dreams, says Kazniak. Some investigators think that dreams or their brain psychological correlates play a functional role in the consolidation in memory of daytime experiences, while others think that dream imagery is epiphenomenal of the brain psychological processes. According to the latter hypothesis, dreams would be nothing more than a translation that we made up.
Okay, so defining epiphenomenal, it's a secondary phenomenon accompanying others. So the dream is just itself. There is nothing outside the dream. It's just your brain firing off chemicals to just get rid of them for the day.
I guess where I land on that is I feel like it's a bit of both. I think we dream in order to cleanse our brain of stuff, help our nervous system process through thoughts and feelings. But I think a lot of times it's going to the bathroom. We're just trying to clear it out.
To my understanding, it does perform a function. If you don't dream.
Well, if you don't dream, you do go completely insane. I remember reading about a disc jockey who he didn't sleep for a week because it was some kind of stunt for the radio. He left his wife and he had to be put in a mental institution. He gave up his career and he had to basically start over after that.
Missing out on sleep for even just a couple days can seriously mess with you.
Speaking from experience of raising a baby, it does make you go completely insane. I mean, I think sleep for your brain and body, it's really, really
like
important.
Specifically, dreams are an important part of your brain resetting. Like your iPhone.
According to Psychology Today, the article People Who Do Not Dream, in 1998, 1,000 Austrians, 32% reported dreaming less than once per month. The ancient Greek historian Herodotus reported in Book 4 of his histories, there once was such a group of people many thousands of years ago in North Africa called Atlas. The natives called this mountain the Pillar of Heaven. They reported not to eat any living thing and to never have dreams.
So vegetarians don't dream. And if you want to write us and tell us that it's pronounced Herodotus, you can just skip it.
Only somebody like Virginia would do that. It appears that you can have REM sleep with very low dream recall or possibly without dreams entirely. There may even be groups of individuals who never recall their dreams or who do not dream.
But if you're having REM activity, that counts. Like even if it's not a dream, like what does it mean to have REM activity and not dream? You just stand in the place where you were?
Now face north.
Look at the place that you wonder why you haven't. But I mean, it doesn't matter because it's when REM started to suck.
So Virginia, in closing, what are your final thoughts on this episode, Dream On?
So I think dreams are interesting to everybody because we are interested in ourselves. I think when people say like, I hate hearing about somebody's dreams, it's because you don't want to hear about other people and you're being a jerk. But I've come out of the episode with an enriched version of the theory I had before, which is that dreams don't mean everything, but they don't mean nothing. I think that they are useful. It is valuable to pay attention to what you're dreaming about. In times that I've been in high stress, I'm definitely going to have dreams about my teeth falling out. I'm definitely going to be naked in my high school. In times where I am worried about something, I never remember good dreams, only the stressful ones. But it's when my brain is trying to work stuff out. What are your final thoughts?
I only remember good dreams when they're about Jack Black. So my final thoughts are, I just wanted a little bit more information about where all of this stuff comes from, because people are always asking me to analyze their dreams. And
right.
What is this about?
Because we want to talk about ourselves in that way. That's why people are into astrology. That's why people are into, what does this say about me?
If we're talking about best use of time, because I only have a 50-minute hour.
Really, really just banging this drum.
Nuts and bolts.
Banging this drum.
I want to talk about your family of origin. I want to talk about what's been going on in your life lately. I want to find out about what are your thoughts on what's happening in the world. I don't need to spend that much time talking about your dream.
All right. So Laura's clients who listen to the show, hello, stop telling her about your dreams, I guess.
You can tell me about it. Just let's not spend a whole hour unpacking it. How about that? Because I'm not a dream analyst, obviously. The idea of being an existential art therapist and spending hours and hours every day talking about the dream you had and doing paintings and drawings about it, that is one of the rings of hell, if I can imagine.
Well, I guess there's a reason you don't do that then.
It's just not my thing. Because I think that's the other thing. It's like some probably opium addicted man with wooden teeth 200 years ago made some weird decisions. And now I have to analyze why you had a dream about going to Taco Bell.
Oh my God. Laura, Where can people find you online if they wish to do so?
Well, they can find me at my website, lauraryan.org. They can find me on TikTok. Please follow me. Follow me on TikTok. I am Laura Ryan. You can also find me on our website, mysistersatherapist.com. You can find us on our Instagram, My Sisters a Therapist Instagram. Virginia, where can people find you should they want to online?
They can find me at bedinia.com. They can find me at Bedinia on my Instagram. If anybody is here from my show last night where I talked at the podcast, opening for Jackie Cation at the early show, my hair is fine, even though I did set it on fire. People talk about something being a real hair fire. It wasn't actually that bad.
We've all done it.
We've all done it. It does smell pretty bad.
I was saying to Virginia, no judgment here. I burned my hair many times. Usually it was in high school, trying to light a cigarette on a stove.
Laura, this is the part of the podcast where sometimes you will read a review or a nice thing that people have said about us. And if you are listening and think, wow, I'm really enjoying this, we would love it if you wrote that in a review on Apple Podcasts.
We would love that. If you would like to reach out to the show, you can email us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com if you have a show idea or you want to compliment us or just tell us that you care. If you want to hire us, you can also email us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. We will do your women's conference, your mental health conference, your leadership event, your wellness event, your opening of Saks Fifth Avenue.
We'll do it all.
Target, if you're interested. If you're interested in someone promoting your brand, I'm here for it. I have an email. Someone wrote us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. And I'm going to read you what she said. Hello, Laura and Virginia. I have been listening to your podcast. They are very interesting, and your insights give me a lot to think about. I'm so not a techie, so I didn't know how to leave a comment on the podcast page. So I thought I would send an email. You and your sister are doing great, and I'm really enjoying it. Thank you, Carla.
Thank you, Carla. That's so sweet. It still feels good.
I'll take it.
Now, in the immortal words that we've already referenced in this podcast of Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn, we can make it, baby.
Me and you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.